It feels like the first time. I know it's been a very long time since the three of us have been together. Bradley Davis, Joshua Sears, and myself, Davidson Baker, for episode 19 of the Debt Row podcast. We've got a lot to get into, a lot of games that Brad and I covered that happened on Thanksgiving from week 12 and the Black Friday game as well. So we'll cover the games of most importance from yesterday and get into a little bit of NFL draft talk, which I know that we are all excited about. However, first things first, news came down around approximately 9:45 a.m. this morning that Frank Reich is out as head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Chris Tabor will take over on an interim basis. A couple of hours later, Deuce Staley and Josh McCown were also shown their walking papers as well. I'm just going to highlight a few notable stats, and then I'm going to let our resident Panthers fan go ahead and take the floor. Like I mentioned to Brad on Friday, the Panthers will now be on head coach number 4 in 7 years since Tepper took over the team in 2018. Since Tepper took over the team in 2018, the Panthers are 30-63, second worst in the NFL, only to the New York Jets. Only one coach in NFL history has been fired in fewer games than Frank Reich was this morning. Frank Reich, 11 games in. Pete McCulley, the answer to the Aflac trivia question, was the only coach that was fired quicker into a season 9 games in 1978 for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll get into names. We'll get into candidates. I think it's important to highlight that the Panthers will have $52 million coming off the books going into the offseason, and we'll have almost $60 million in cap space. But Josh looks dejected. No real draft capital to speak of. I know the salary cap thing sounds nice, but you got to be able to spend it right. Josh, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the key, spending it right. Reich didn't even make it as many games as Urban Meyer. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But honestly, dude, it doesn't matter who was going to coach this team. This was going to be the result either way with the way this roster was constructed. Like, do I think Reich did a good job? No, not by any means. Do I think he's at full blame? No. But Tepper's going to find someone and make them held accountable. Like, we have a David Tepper problem. I said it weeks ago on the podcast.
Agreed.
And it feels like the Jimmy Haslam Browns, the Dan Snyder Redskins, like whatever bad ownership, bad team you want to insert, that's where this team's headed. Like, I don't see any strong path into relevancy in the foreseeable future for the Panthers unless you just fall ass backwards into it, which happens sometimes for these billionaire owners. But I don't see it happening. I think getting rid of Deuce Staley was fine. Like, I don't think he was. I think he might have also been part of the problem. I didn't like getting rid of Josh McCown. I would have liked to have kept him in the building. At least someone in Bryce's ear that could maybe stick around. But because he seems to be a hot coaching candidate elsewhere and has been thrown around for a few years now. Potentially was going to get a job, last year?
I mean,
Yeah.
He wouldn't have deserved it, but yes.
No, God, no. It was the Texans' job, right?
It was the Texans' job.
Yeah, it was the Texans' job. No, not saying he would have deserved it, but I mean, a guy who's held to a high standard around the league would have liked to have seen him hang around a young coaching candidate, maybe. But I don't know, dude. There's not a lot for me to say on this because the roster's going to need a complete overhaul. Whatever coach we bring in is going to have to deal with David Tepper being in his back pocket at all times, like the Grim Reaper over his shoulder. So, if that sounds appetizing to you, sign up for the job because that's what you got to deal with. Like Bryce, I don't put any blame on Bryce. I think anybody that's writing him off and saying he's a bust is ridiculous. No one
Yesterday
can succeed
showed
in
a
these
lot
conditions.
of that too.
Yeah.
No one can succeed in these conditions, dude. Receivers can't. Bryce scrambled around and extended a play for 12 seconds and nobody got open. How does that happen?
Did you see the Mingo?
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
dude.
yeah,
It's awful.
bro, you can't
Guy
do
has
that as
no
a
field
receiver, man.
awareness. He has no field
What they're
awareness.
talking about for anyone that might not be aware, there was a play that Mike Renner put on Twitter today from Pro Football Focus where he throws a dot outside the boundary and Mingo is wide open, and Mingo does everything possible to not get 2 feet
Yeah, bro. He
down in
straight up
bounds.
looked at the middle of the field and said, "The floor is
He
lava.
did.
Let me get away from it." Like, what are we doing here? Like,
Oh man.
not only that, he missed a block early in the game on a key third down. It was supposed to be a little toss play to Miles Sanders, and it gets blown up immediately from his missed block where he's supposed to kick out on the defensive end. And Bryce straight up has to turn and throw the ball like he's passing it downfield because he doesn't have time to toss it, and it gets blown up for a 5-yard loss. But I think I told y'all in the group chat, I knew Reich was getting fired this morning from that 4th and 6 screen call.
Yeah.
What are we
No.
doing, dude?
I don't know.
Like, that is
I
a
don't know.
fireable offense right there alone, in my opinion.
Let's
I
talk
mean, hell, that
candidates.
seems to be.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love Bobby Slowick. Ben Johnson
Me
would be
too.
my ideal candidate, but
He's
it's
not gonna take the
happening,
job.
dude. He turned
No.
it down last year. Anybody that says Ben Johnson obviously doesn't know anything about the organization. Like, we had that, we tried that last year, and we thought we were going to hire him, and he just used us as a ploy to get more money from the Lions. So
Yeah.
he's not interested in the job. It's plain and
No.
simple. Now,
I agree.
Tepper might still approach him because he's a stubborn billionaire who thinks he can buy anything he wants. But realistically, I like Bobby Slowick. I like what Frank Smith, Dolphins offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But Tepper won't hire him because he's not going to hire another guy named Frank probably.
Now,
Yeah.
Brad, I got a question for you. How destructive could it be? Because, a lot of times when coaches get fired, owners will go after whoever the exact opposite is of whoever the last guy was. Could they hire a defensive-minded head coach and bring in a smart offensive coordinator to pair with Bryce? Would that be a disaster or what? I don't think it would be. I don't think it's a terrible idea.
But it's got to be the right guy. I got two guys.
Dennis
and that's
Allen.
it.
Dennis Allen,
Yeah, there you
Panthers
go.
head coach.
No.
Yeah.
I got two guys in mind that I would be satisfied with as a defensive minded guy, and that's about it. It's
Yeah, who are they?
would it be?
Brian Flores. I
Okay.
would take Brian
Obviously, yeah.
Flores in a heartbeat and promote a hero of Arrow. He should be the interim right now. Why he's not, I don't know.
Tabor being named the interim was a curious thing for me.
I expected it to be Evera. I really did. I just was shocked.
Brad, give us your thoughts. We got some games to get into.
I think Josh kind of nailed it. I told y'all in the group chat that I would be defending Frank Reich, and it was more so not in the sense of defending him as kind of a head coach this year, because listen, like Josh kind of pointed, he came into this job with a lot of baggage to kind of carry, especially with them trading away a lot of assets, getting a quarterback that rumors are he did not want. There were a lot of speculation that he wanted Shroud over Young, which is, if you're sitting here, telling your head coach that, hey, we'll let you do whatever you want, we'll let you build up this roster the way you want it to, and then you come to him and you go, but you're not going to be able to draft the quarterback you want, that becomes a huge issue. And like you pointed out, they've had 5 head coaches in the past 5 years.
This will be their 4th in the last 7 years.
Okay,
but if you count interims, it's 7 and 7.
Yeah.
Also, Charlotte FC's gone through 3 managers in 3 years.
Yeah.
Just if you're noticing a trend here.
Yeah.
I'm not a soccer guy, but I don't think that's good.
Pull out every stop.
Yeah, and I mean, and you guys kind of touched on a little bit. What's enticing about this job?
Nothing.
What big name? Nothing.
If you like, I think Bryce Young, that's the biggest. That's about it.
If you like Bryce Young,
or the defense.
Yeah, or if you like a lot of money, because they're going to pay. If you're a big name, they'll definitely throw the bag at him. But
they'll definitely talk to Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, they will, but
they'll be in touch with Harbaugh. I don't want it.
Yeah.
You don't want
Bill
it.
Belichick.
Tepper's already been on the phone with him. Hell
But
no,
but
dude.
you
I
don't
don't.
want Harbaugh.
Bill
Hell
Belichick.
no. I don't need that big personality in the same room as David Tepper every week in
Oh,
their
dude, yeah, that
weekly
won't last long.
meetings. In their weekly
Yeah.
meetings, he might
Yeah,
make
I
it
agree.
4
Oh,
weeks,
Lord.
dude.
Yeah, he
He'll
probably
last
would, dude.
less time than Frank Reich.
Let's
Yeah,
get into the games.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
enough time on that
Let-
dumpster fire of an
Yeah.
organization.
Let's get into the games. One of the best games of the season took place and almost was 4 hours long yesterday in the 4 o'clock window.
Yeah.
Philadelphia 37,
It's like an
Buffalo
officiating
34. Okay, so
Mhm.
thank you for saying that because I'm going to take the floor for a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, you go for it.
Nice segue into that.
Yeah, I figured I'd set you up.
Yesterday was by far in college or the NFL this season across the board the most atrocious day of officiating I have seen by a country fucking mile this
That
season.
was bad.
And it came out in head waves in this game. First of all, nobody, I tweeted this yesterday, nobody has given me an answer. What was the difference between A.J. Brown's incomplete pass and Keenan Allen's catch and fumble and the catch and fumble that Julian Fleming had in the Ohio State game? There's no difference in any of those 3 plays. Don't even look at it.
Zero.
It's an incomplete pass. How about when Josh Allen got tomahawk speared to the ground by the collar, horse collar tackle? Ray Charles could have thrown the flag, but it's intentional grounding on Josh Allen. How about Tank Dell
Gabe
getting
Davis
called
was
for
in the area.
Dude, how about Tank Dell getting called for an illegal shift on a pass that went 60 yards when the Miami Dolphins run the same shifted motion every single fucking play? How about like 5 minutes later, Trevor Lawrence throwing an interception that was clearly pass interference? How about the Ravens hitting Herbert 3 yards out of bounds? And not only do the officials not call it, there's a fight that ensues and it's not offsetting. And instead of 1st and goal at the 1 for the Chargers, it's 3rd and 19. Yesterday was fucking embarrassing for the league office when it comes to officiating. Absolutely pathetic. It was, I mean, across the board. I could keep going, and I'm not going to, but it was absolutely and totally embarrassing. Now, on the topic of this game,
Oh wait, well, I want to add one thing to your ref thing.
Add one more thing.
We wonder why favorites went 12-3 ATS.
Correct.
And straight up, and the
Yeah.
unders are hitting at an all-time rate.
Correct. And
That
it's
all
one of
points
those
to
things.
officiating.
This gives ammunition to the tinfoil hat sports are fixed crowd. It really does.
It does.
I can't argue with them after
Yeah.
a day like yesterday.
It looks like it. I mean, it
It certainly does.
It definitely is not a good look.
No,
Especially when you
like
have those ATS and straight up numbers at an all-time rate like that.
No, I mean, the officials in the league office should be ashamed of themselves after yesterday.
Bad.
On the topic of
especially
this
having
game,
like guys like Dean Blandino come on and defend it.
Oh my! Well, they'll always defend their guys. It's a joke. But
Yeah, dude,
right there, right there on the screen.
11
penalties for Buffalo, 4 for Philadelphia. Buffalo controlled this game. It went 24-14, and then it went touchdown Philadelphia, interception Buffalo, touchdown Philadelphia, and you kind of knew right then and there Buffalo wasn't winning the game. The Gabe Davis throw where he was going to score wide open and somehow ran the wrong route. Yeah.
Hell, he got open twice.
Yeah,
Josh missed him.
I know. And
Not
Philadelphia
you, Josh.
just continues to find ways to win. But Josh, you gave me a good comparison. I respect the Eagles. I mean, you have to. Like, they just continue to find ways to win. But Josh had a comparison for them yesterday. Why don't you tell us what that is?
Yeah, dude, they're a spitting image of last year's Minnesota Vikings. Like, they're winning all these one-score games. They're getting outgained in games. They're winning games in the most improbable ways, and it's not a sustainable way to win, and they're wearing themselves out in the process of doing it. We see Jalen Hurts limping around every week just to get through a game. You can't win in the playoffs with this style of football, in my opinion. It's not sustainable. And you're sure as hell not going to win through the playoffs and get to a Super Bowl and win it. So not going to sit here and act like the Eagles are frauds or a bad team. It's just going off of a long season last year where you go on a Super Bowl run and then trying to do it again this year while going 10-1 and winning all these close games. The ceiling's going to fall at some point. The sky's going to fall at some point, and it's just you can't keep winning like this. So they will regress. It always happens. It's just a matter of when, not if, in my opinion.
Keep getting
As for
away with
Buffalo, Brad, they're fucked. They're officially fucked. They're now 6-6 headed into the bye week. And coming out of the bye week, they have to go to Kansas City, and then they have Dallas, and they got to play Miami again at the end of the season. I'm writing their obituary. I've given them every opportunity. I just don't know how you can confidently say with how backlog or how log jammed the back end of the AFC playoff picture is that you can feel good about this team making the playoffs.
Yeah, especially them going into their bye week when a lot of teams in the AFC are starting to heat up a little bit, and especially against a couple teams that they've lost to. The Broncos are starting to heat up, and they have that loss against them, which the Broncos are kind of on the cusp of making the playoffs, and kind of in that a wild card picture.
Oh no, they're getting in.
I mean, yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. And it's not, for me, when I look at the Broncos, it's not, we'll get into them later, but it's not really like games that they won against weak opponents. They've beaten some pretty impressive, teams. But I mean, with Buffalo, it's the same thing. I feel like every week their defense continues to let them down. Josh Allen, while making mistakes, puts his team in positions to win, but it's just the defense just continuously lets them down. And I think we need to start having a conversation of Sean McDermott. Is he going to be the head coach next year?
No.
I don't think so.
If they miss the playoffs, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. He's a defensive minded kind of guy, and his defense continuously. Yeah, I mean, listen. I think as a defensive coordinator, I think he could, kind of revive his career. But I think right now it's just, and it's crazy because last year, Buffalo was looking like one of the top contenders in the NFL, and now we're talking about them potentially missing the playoffs. I pointed out every week. I feel like every week, like I said, their defense just continuously lets them down moment after moment after moment. And
a lot of injuries, man. It's a shame. It was a good unit to start the year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I mean, like, they have a lot of playmakers on their defense, just like you said.
That might be McDermott's saving grace too. If this does go down bad, is all the injuries on the defensive side. He can point to that. Buy him another
it might
year.
be, but if they miss playoffs, I don't know if they can justify it. I don't know if they can.
It'd be tough.
I agree. Let's move. The AFC South was essentially on the line for the home team yesterday, and feel like now it's too big of a hole to recover as the Houston Texans fall literally by an inch on a doink. Matt Amendola missed a field goal at the end of the first half as well, and it ended up being the difference. Jacksonville 24, Houston 21. Jacksonville covered. The under got by with the skin of its teeth, even though we had overtime. Brad and I talked at length about the importance of this game for both teams on Friday. Now that Jacksonville has a 2-game lead and a split in this season series, this division feels like it's over. Jacksonville plays a Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati next week, and then they play the Browns on a backup quarterback or third string, whatever you'd like to kind of characterize it as, the week after, and still have games against Tampa Bay and Carolina remaining. It feels like this division is over and done with. And now the Texans will be fighting for a wild card spot, Brad.
Yeah, this was the game that, the Texans needed to keep their, hopes alive in winning the division. I don't think their hopes of not making the playoffs in terms of getting a wild card position is out of reach. I mean, I think they're still in the thick of it, but it does make it a little bit more difficult because, there are a lot of teams right now winning that are kind of, starting to play really good football. I mean, I'm not saying that the Texans haven't been playing good football. I'm just saying, overall, the AFC is starting to become kind of, I think, what we all thought it would be with a very dominant division, conference. But, I mean, listen, I think this is going to be, two teams, for the foreseeable future in this division that are going to be duking it out for who wins the division. Just this year, I feel like the Jags are a little bit more talented overall, but Houston has a very bright future, especially with Stroud. I mean, dude's just a stud. I mean, anyone like I was pretty high on Stroud, but I didn't really know exactly what to think of him. But he's been playing so well. Even to the point where a lot of people are putting him in conversation for MVP, which as a rookie on this Texans team that a lot of us thought weren't really going to be all that great, is kind of astounding to see. But you got to give credit to the Jags. I mean, they're taking full control of this division. They're still it's very strange because Trevor Lawrence has been playing not up to the level that he was last year, but they're sitting at 8-3, and it feels a little bit better than last year, but also not. So I don't know. The Jags still, I mean, have myself questioning them a little bit, but I really wanted to see Houston win this game, but really good game too. I feel like this game and the Bills game were two of the best games in the earlier games. So yeah.
And Josh, I think we can comfortably say this was Trevor Lawrence's best game of the season.
It was. I'd still like to see him show more of that killer instinct, and like I get Houston's competitive. They've been a fun story and all, and I think they're a good team. But if you're a division front runner and the team that everybody thinks Jacksonville should be, and the team they want to be, this is a team you should handle, in my opinion. Still, like they're a year ahead of where they're supposed to be. But Jacksonville should still be handling them, and I think Trevor's got to pick that up a little bit. I mean, you go by your quarterback. He's got to see these games and take advantage of that. We'll see, because I mean that defense isn't anything to write home about in Houston. They give up a lot of points every week. 24 points is fine, but if you want to be an elite quarterback in this league, you should be putting up 30 plus against a team like this. You put up 30 in this game, we're talking about this game a lot differently. We're talking about how Houston's not quite there yet. They're not ready to fight with the big boys. But Jacksonville hasn't shown that they can pull away and be one of those yet. So until then, they're going to be a B tier team for me in the AFC. Like, I know the Chiefs aren't what everyone thinks of them as, but if you put them on the field with Jacksonville at a neutral site right now, Kansas City's still winning that game, in my opinion. Even
Agreed.
the shell of themselves as they currently are. I think they figured some stuff out this week. But yeah, I think until further notice, Jacksonville is just a good playoff team. Division
What's
winner.
that line? If they play at a neutral site tomorrow, what's that line?
3.5.
6.5? Really?
Yeah,
3.5.
You said 6.5?
Make you think.
Yeah, I think it's
6.5 is
closer
way
to a
too many
touchdown.
points. I think it's too many points.
I'm not saying I disagree with you.
I mean,
I'm just saying
Vegas
what I
was
think
8.5.
Vegas would set the line as.
The Raiders were 8.5.
At home.
I guess. I don't know.
Ended up being wrong anyway.
Yeah, well. Look good for a half. Look damn good for a half.
Don't bring back the demons of yesterday.
Yeah.
Baltimore 20, Chargers 10. You get the sense how this game was going right away on the first drive when, like I mentioned off top.
We called this game early in the day.
Yes, we did.
Pretty much exactly how this would go.
Yeah, I mean, we at bar for bar, flow for flow. But you got to sense how this game was going on that first drive. Like I said earlier, when Geno Smith hits Justin Herbert in Montana out of bounds, like so far out of bounds that Ray Charles would have seen it from 40 miles away, and the referees do nothing until there's a fight, and we're not throwing flags on both teams. We're throwing it on the Chargers only. I knew from that moment the Chargers were fucked, and they were not winning this game.
Chargers don't win these games. I say
Baltimore let them hang though, like for a while.
Dude, it's a
Their
business trip.
offense-
You go in, you get the win, you get out. You travel across the country. You just go in
Sure.
and do your job. You're not worried about a point spread or any of that kind of stuff, even though they did cover it. But, like, they just want to go in and get their job done and get out of there as fast as
And-
possible and get back home.
And that Zay Flowers touchdown at the end changed millions of dollars. Or it changed
Yeah, it
millions
did.
of dollars hands right there.
Yeah, it did.
No doubt.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. How's
Took me
Staley
from a
still the
bush
head
to a happy
coach?
man. Yeah,
I
don't know how he
actually
wasn't
woke up
fired
this morning wondering if Staley would be fired today.
Dude, how?
What
How
does
does
he?
he keep
What does he
surviving?
bring? As a head coach,
That
what does he
Division
bring
III
to their
grit.
team?
That Division 3
Like,
grit.
Bro, it's crazy. I do not understand it. What are you fighting for?
I got
Like,
two words for
you're
you.
not-
Why he's still employed. Dean Spanos. Enough said.
Listen, you're not wrong. You're not
Enough
wrong.
said.
That's it. There's
But,
nothing to
like,
talk about in this game. We pretty much covered it
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, my main point was just Staley. I don't get how he's still the head coach, but
Herbert
Bro,
deserves better.
first play of the game for Baltimore on offense. The Chargers have 12 men on the field and have to call timeout.
Herbert deserves better. Herbert deserves
He
better.
does,
That's
dude.
plain
Hey,
and simple.
You know who shouldn't be exonerated here too? And last night was a gleaming example, and it reminded me kind of when a little bit different circumstances, but it reminded me a little bit of when A.J. Brown played his first game against the Titans, and John Robinson, the GM of the Titans, was fired the next day. Was literally fired the next day. How can Tom Telesco sleep at night after he watched Zay Flowers go crazy last night and he picked Quentin Johnston in front of him? How does Tom Telesco sleep at night after seeing that last night? It was very clear and obvious all season.
And it's funny because it almost feels like the Ravens did that shit intentionally.
Oof.
Yeah, dude, that's some like
They're
Justin Jefferson, Nelson Aguilar shit, dude.
Or the Jalen Reagor.
Aguilar.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah, I mean, listen, Zay Flowers isn't on the same level as Justin Jefferson, but still, the talent is definitely the talent is very different between Flowers and Johnson right now.
And Quentin Johnston is
this
definitely
dude is like a
closer
Beyblade,
to,
bro.
Beyblade.
He's a Beyblade. You wind him up and he's just.
I'm sorry,
That's true, dude.
None of the rookie receivers have been Tank Dell, though.
I think I tend to agree with you.
Yeah,
I really
He's been the best rookie receiver. Now, we haven't seen Jackson Smith and Jigba get to do anything.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do with him, apparently. But
people
calling him a bust is also ridiculous to me.
Puka too.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I mean, Puka's been kind of inconsistent here recently. Tank Dell, I think I might agree with you on the Tank Dell.
I was on the Puka train for a long time.
Yeah,
it's Tank Dell season now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Winners of 5 straight, the longest winning streak in the National Football League, goes to the Denver Broncos, who only threw for 134 yards yesterday. This game was a tale of 3 unanswered runs. Denver gets out to a 14-0 lead. Cleveland scores 12 straight and missed a 2-point conversion when Amari Cooper dropped one of what felt like 300 Cleveland Browns drops yesterday. They had to have had at least 10 drops. I mean, my God, they were dropping passes on every single drive. And then from 14 to 12, Denver scored 15 straight with the help of a couple field goals, a touchdown, and a safety. Denver now has won 5 straight, allowed 70 points to the Dolphins, and during this 5-game winning streak, they've allowed 80 points combined in those 5 games. And I think, we've talked about the Broncos at length. If we flip it to the Browns right here for a second, I think the Browns are in trouble. 7-4, they do have a little bit of a cushion, but there are a lot of teams right behind them, and they are getting seemingly unhealthier and unhealthier by the second.
They're losing quarterbacks. Out, I agree.
Yes,
you can't win with PJ Walker.
They're losing. It might be Flacco time soon.
You can
Flacco.
possibly still win with Flacco with that team.
And Miles
would-
Garrett was nicked up yesterday too.
Yeah, he'll play.
Yeah, but they're
He'll
getting
play.
more and more injured. What seems like by the day, and you know they do have somewhat of an easy remaining schedule left. They have the Jets left. They have. I looked at it earlier today. I know they have the Jets left. They have games against the Jets, the Bears, and the Bengals left. But this game at SoFi at the Rams on Sunday feels very, very important for both teams.
Yeah.
So I only have one thing from this game. This game was awful. I watched
it was
too
terrible.
Much of it. Is this the year Russ gets his MVP vote? Just one. Just one.
Dog, he threw for 134 yards yesterday.
But listen to this. We've seen how bad play of the quarterback position has been this year. And when you look at the stats for all those box score people.
Yes.
68% completion percentage for the season.
There's no doubt he's playing well.
2,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, 4 picks.
I mean, he's clearly not the Russell we saw last year. There's no doubt about it.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got Jalen Hurts as our odds-on favorite.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's
like,
that
the race is wide open. The race is wide open.
Yeah.
Right now, the favorite, as much as I hate to say it, the favorite should probably be Dak. But like, dude, if the Broncos just somehow run the fucking table,
no way.
I'm not saying they do, but crazier shit's happened. If they run the table, does he?
He would have to.
Not saying he wins the award, but does he get votes?
No.
He would have to. Overexceed what he's playing right now to even get a vote. Don't be wrong. Don't get me wrong. He's playing really good, but like, listen, we saw Sean Payton trot out Jameis Winston and had that man leading the league in touchdown passes to the first 7 games.
But who's taking the race by storm?
I think Dak or Lamar will have a lot to say about that.
I think Lamar should win it, but he puts up, he doesn't have to put up stats every week because they just win games, and he doesn't have to do it all anymore, which is what he's wanted for years.
Yeah.
Listen, it is a quarterback award, so I would probably say Dak or Lamar. But y'all know me. I need me some Tyreek Hill to win this shit. But
that's not happening.
Ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. But
sorry, I didn't mean to bring up MVP talk in the Browns and Broncos game. But
so let's bring up
and not talk about Myles Garrett.
Let's bring up who will probably be a prime candidate to win the N as in never VP, the Nickelodeon most valuable player. Oh no, we're talking about Kenneth Pickett the third. Kenneth Pickett Jr. the third.
He didn't have a bad game.
Ritter was a good.
He played well.
Though. Ritter was.
He played well.
Hey, Kenny Pickett played well. This offense yesterday actually looked decent, and trust me, I watched way too much of this game with units deployed on the Steelers. This by far, honestly, you got lucky because this game should have easily been 28-10, even 31-10. There was a fumble by Jalen Warren in the red zone where they were driving. There was a dropped touchdown by Deontay Johnson. This score.
Talk about Deontay Johnson, dude. My God, what a pitiful performance yesterday.
I'm glad I didn't watch it.
This score does not reflect 16-10 the final. This score does not reflect how widespread this game was for 60 minutes. It's a miracle the Bengals were winning at halftime. I mean, they could get nothing going. The only reason they scored a touchdown in this game was off of a fluke deflection at the line of scrimmage that Jamar Chase caught and then did Jamar Chase things after. Took it 30 yards. Pittsburgh, guys, I hate to break it to you. They're going to the playoffs. Their next two games, games are at home against Arizona and New England. They win both of those games like they should. They'll be 9-4. Then they play the Colts. That game will probably be close to a pick 'em. Then they play the Bengals again. They might, but if they do, they're 9-5. And then guess what? They get these Bengals again
they're getting
at home.
in. They're getting
That's 10-5.
no doubt.
Guys,
No
they're
doubt
winning
they're
a
getting in.
minimum of 10 games. They're going to the playoffs.
Ravens
They're
are still winning the
100% going to the
division.
playoffs.
They're going to be what, a 5 seed?
Probably somewhere around there. They're not going to catch the Ravens,
So that
I don't think.
means they're going to draw the 4 in the playoffs. Who's the
Who
4
will probably
right
be
now?
the 4 right now is
Is it Jacksonville? No.
Jacksonville's
the
2.
4 right now
Jacksonville's
is
the second seed
Miami.
right now. Yeah.
Miami boat races them in Miami, dude.
Yeah, Miami would put it on them in Miami.
This team's got first-round exit written all over them, and Tom
You want to know
get
what
fired
though?
for it.
I think no. You want to know what though?
If he makes the playoffs,
I think
dude,
they
he does
match
it
up
every
well with
year.
Jacksonville.
Oh, I agree.
I think they match up well with Jacksonville.
I agree, but
even though Jacksonville boat raced them already,
if they get Miami in the first round,
it's gonna be
a break, dude. What's that spread open at? 8.5
at least.
And I'm hammering it. I'm hammering it. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, dude. They can't hang with Miami because, dude, their defense is not that good.
It's not, but like I know you guys are kind of discounting them to win the division, which sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but if the Ravens start dropping some games, they play the last game of the season against each other.
Yeah, and they own the tiebreaker.
And listen, it
Ravens
could
will
come
boat race them in that game. If it comes down to it, it's not going to be close.
I do agree, but also, I mean, last game of the regular season, if both teams are fighting for the
Lamar
division,
Jackson for the division, give me Lamar.
Yeah, give me the Pickett, dude. Give me the Pickens.
Good luck with that
connection, bro.
Now, honestly, the more intriguing thing out of this game for me is how high are the Bengals going to be picking? To preview draft talk, how high are they going to be picking?
Yeah, I saw in the mock. We're going to preview a mock draft on Tankathon here shortly, which takes algorithms and takes all of the consensus mocks and put them all into one. You know who they have the Bengals taking at 15 to replace T. Higgins?
Right now is 15.
Yeah, to replace T. Higgins.
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors is going to the Saints, but Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, the matchup nightmare wide receiver they have at Florida State, that would be a hell of a pick.
It would be, but I think they get higher than that, and I think they're closer to Malik Neighbors' conversation.
Yeah.
If not,
I don't know if Neighbors will be on the board by 15.
How many wins do they have right now? I think they get higher than 15, though, is what I'm saying.
They have 5 wins
6
right
wins,
now.
don't they? Oh, 5 wins.
Dude.
Okay, never mind.
Is there a way?
And they don't have an easy game left.
Is there a way where they get high enough to where they can finagle their way into Marvin Harrison conversation?
No
way, bro. No, I don't think so.
You got to be picking. You got to be picking 2 or 3 to get Marvin Harrison.
Kyler's playing.
Yeah.
Cardinals could win some games and play their way over 5 wins.
After Sunday's performance, I don't know if the Cardinals are going to win much of anything.
I don't think
the
Giants are going to end up winning 5 games. I don't think the Patriots are going to end up winning 5 games.
The Giants go quarterback?
It's fascinating to talk about, and right now where the Giants are at.
But think about it. In some world, and even if it's a trade-up scenario, you get to pair Marvin Harrison with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
Oh my God, bro! It would be unfair.
What do you do?
It would be unfair.
Nothing.
Unfair.
You hope and pray.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen, but it's fun to think about.
We got 4 games left we're going to talk about, and then we're going to talk some draft. We're going to give Brad the floor here to go off and tee off as he should. The Saints kicked 5 field goals and scored no touchdowns yesterday en route to a 24-15 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. The Jesse Bates pick 6 really felt like the kiss of death, and it was only midway through the first quarter. Derek Carr even went as far as to say congrats to him in the post-game press conference. I can only imagine the rage that you feel, Brad.
I don't even have rage anymore, dude. I'm just they're dead to me, bro. This Saints team is completely dead to me. I've gone through many years of the Saints being very good, very mid, a little bit bad. Like, and I don't think this roster overall is terrible. It's just one of the most poorly coached teams I've seen the Saints team have. And I mean, I did have, 15 years with Sean Payton as our head coach. So there wasn't really ever a time where I felt like the team was poorly coached. But like, man, when you have no, not even that, when you have Alvin Kamara coming out publicly and telling the press that he doesn't feel like the offense has an identity, and then Dennis Allen's ass comes out here and says, "No, we have an identity. We have an identity.
It's kicking
We're
field
very
goals in the red
explosive.
zone.
Yeah, we're very explosive on offense."
Yikes.
Bro, I'm tired of it, bro. I'm tired of it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And here's the one thing that I'll also say about it. I know all the blame, and I know what Mickey's doing. I know what Mickey Loomis is doing. He's not saying shit. He's letting Dennis Allen come out here, take all the fucking blame. But I'm not going to let fucking Mickey Loomis get by this shit. He's made some terrible draft choices in the past few years. He signed Derek Carr's bitch ass to a fucking $150 million deal with $100 million fucking guaranteed. I can't do it anymore. This team is just so unserious. They don't give a fuck. They come out continuously telling us fans that, oh yeah, we're still in the race to win this division. Bro, this division's ass. I can go out there and win that division. Fuck this shit, dude. It's getting to the point where players are going to start turning on each other. Hell, Michael Thomas was out there talking shit about Derek Carr on Twitter. I mean, you're going to start having your players publicly not tiptoeing around anymore. They're going to start publicly calling out fucking people by their name. And there's just not a lot of hope right now in watching the Saints anymore. I just don't know. It's frustrating too because coming into the season, I didn't think we were going to be like contenders. I didn't think we were going to make a push for the the NFC Championship game or anything. But I did think we were going to be better. But clearly, I was wrong because Dennis Allen's ass just does not know how to coach men of football whatsoever. Pete Carmichael doesn't know how to fucking run a goddamn play, and a lot of poor choices from the upper management that starts with Mickey Loomis. It's just been ugly, and I hate it. But and also, hey, Chris Olave played really good until Carr threw a fucking hospital pass. So now we probably won't have Olave for 2 games, so that's nice. But
to touch on the other side, if the Falcons just give Bijan the ball 40 times a game, they're gonna win this division.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
also let me point out,
run him into the ground and win the division.
Having DeMario Davis, who's like 35 years old, cover fucking Bijan.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah. That makes no fucking sense. You can't do it.
Can't be doing that. I think the Saints are the worst red zone team I've ever seen. They
with historically the worst red zone quarterback historically.
They are the 4th worst red zone team as far as percentage wise of scoring touchdowns in the red zone in the NFL. The only teams worse than them in the red zone are the Giants, the Titans, and the Jets, which, you don't want to be mentioned along those. All I'll say about this division is it's going to be a slugfest. And I mean that in more than one way because it is tight. But when I say slug, I don't mean like punches. I mean like a literal slug.
Slow.
Like a literal, like moving very slow to the finish line.
I mean,
that's how this
was something I talked about in the group chat too. I mean, I feel like this is what the NFC South is going to be like for years to come. Like I look at every team in the division and I see a lot of, the front offices being super unserious about their franchise. A a lot of teams that have a lot of old players, like like the Saints and the Bucks, not really having a lot of young players to rally kind of around. It's just I know you guys talked about the Falcons potentially getting a quarterback, but if Arthur Smith wins this division, I don't see him leaving, and I don't really trust Arthur Smith. So I don't know. I think overall this division is going to be bad for years to come.
Doesn't look like there's a lot of hope. And speaking of this division, the Bucks are playing their way out of it as well. The Colts win 27-20, and don't look now, but with a 3-way tie for the last wild card spot, the Colts own the tiebreaker. And if the season ended today,
Yeah.
the Indianapolis Colts would be going to the playoffs and would be going to Arrowhead and would likely be double-digit underdogs. The over was Josh. It was in Josh and I's pick 5. That didn't really seem like it was ever in doubt until maybe with about 7 or 8 minutes left, but it ended up crossing the finish line.
Just barely.
How real are the chances of this Colts team to go to the playoffs?
I think it's pretty real. I think they're a pretty solid football team. They have an identity. They play good defense, and they're well coached. Like, I don't know. I think they're a good football team, top to bottom. Gardner Minshew's a perfectly capable quarterback.
Seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be a fun story. They'll get beat by 30 in the first round, but
yeah,
that's about all that they're worth talking about.
100%.
I will say you kind of said that Tampa is kind of out of it.
Oh, they're out.
They're only one. They're
They're only one game out.
They're only one game.
Doesn't matter.
They're only one game.
Doesn't matter.
Listen, I don't think Tampa's all that great, but somehow, some way, even the Panthers have a way to win the division.
No, they don't.
They
don't have a way to win another game.
They don't, but
no.
Mathematically, they do.
The Falcons are winning this division.
Yeah, I think so too.
Even with Arthur Smith being a drunk baby at the wheel.
And a team that's also climbed their way back into the playoffs. Only one game out are Brad's Los Angeles Rams. 37-14.
Yeah. They ain't getting in.
Oh, man. The Cardinals really, really made me eat some major amounts of crow in this game. They scored 8 on their first drive of the game and looked like they were going to move the ball on offense all day, and then just flatlined. Absolutely flatlined. The Rams almost covered this over on their own. Arizona looks like they're in full-blown tank mode. And the Rams, like I said, I mean, them and the Packers both sitting one game outside, knocking on the door.
Packers get in before the Rams.
I agree with you.
They're a better team.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they're a better team. Much better,
Are they really a better team?
Yeah, dude. Jordan Love's
I can't say if they are
out the last 3 weeks.
He has been, but I don't trust that Packers team right now. I just can't. Even with Jordan Love playing really well, I've seen a lot.
I may go place a little wager.
Lot from them. Place a little wager for them to make the
playoffs. I've already got one on the Vikings to make the playoffs. So
yeah, which is not bad. I mean,
pretty good value
too.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll probably be looking at the Packers later tonight to make the playoffs. I think I threw the Vikings one out on the podcast a few weeks back, actually, after week 5. But yeah, the Packers interest me. I know we're not talking about that game. I think the Rams are a joke. I don't think they're getting in. I don't know. Kyron Williams gives me a little hope because now they have some balance again. He looked really fucking good. He looked like an elite
had himself
back.
A day, dude.
I mean, the Cardinals can do that and make guys look really good. But Williams was looking good earlier in the season. He looks like he's got some juice.
Well, I mean, especially him coming off injury. So I mean, that's always positive to see. But yeah,
last game, and then we're talking draft.
Yeah, let's do
it. Kansas City allows 14 unanswered to start the game, and we were writing their obituary in the group chat right away. But a 31-3 run for Kansas City, and they look like maybe they haven't found their wide receiver one because in my opinion,
it's
but maybe on their roster. But what I'm saying is like, Rashee Rice is like a really, really solid, really
2.
explosive 2,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Like on a
He's
great
got
team
Yeah.
full of
he's got
weapons.
one upside though, I think, down the road potentially.
I mean, his yak ability is phenomenal.
Dude, they haven't even
Yeah.
used him as a down the field threat yet. They did a little bit in this game with that crossing route that went for a touchdown. But dude, this
Mhm.
guy was a like jump ball threat in college at SMU. Like he showed he could do those things, and they just haven't used him to that ability yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's got a lot more untapped potential that they wanted to get him some confidence early in the season as a young receiver.
Mhm.
And I think he's primed for a strong finish to the season. I think he's wide receiver 1 going forward. I don't know if he's a true wide receiver 1, but I think he's got potential to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
No,
mean,
I
I'm,
agree.
I
I'm
think he has.
also talking about future bets. I'm buying in on this team if you can get them at good value for to win the AFC outright, not regular season, but to win the AFC outright in the playoffs. Maybe a Super Bowl wager, things of that nature. Those kind of outside where you can still get good plus money value. I would be sprinkling those because we know what this team does at this time of year. We've seen
Yeah.
this story many times year in and year out. If you can still get good value on that, look to bet those. I will probably be looking to bet those myself later in this week.
I mean, and also you can't count out Patrick Mahomes. Like you just can't.
Never.
Even if
He's the best
if he,
quarterback on planet Earth.
yeah, it's starting to kind of get into like the Brady kind of like never doubt Brady. Like it's you don't doubt Patrick Mahomes, even with some questionable receiver play and not really the most talented receiving group he's probably had in his tenure in Kansas City. But even then, he still finds ways to win. Even if MVS drops a pass against the Bills, what happened?
Nothing.
Nothing. But
All right.
good team, bad team.
All right. 152. We're good.
We're good.
All right, let's talk draft. We're good. We're good. Let's talk draft. So, right now, if the season ended today, the top 10 would look like this. The Chicago Bears would be going first via the Carolina Panthers. The Arizona Cardinals at 2, Patriots 3, Chicago at 4, Washington 5, Giants 6, Bucks 7, Jets 8, Chargers 9, Titans 10. We're going to go ahead and flip this on the screen. This is the Tankathon mock draft that was uploaded today. The only thing that is incorrect on the screen, even though the selections are the same, for whatever reason, they have 9 and 10 flip-flopped. Really, if the season ended right now, the Chargers would be picking 9th. And the Titans would be picking 10th. How we're going to do this, I'm just going to say a little diatribe about each of these guys that are going to be mocked and the potential situations, and you guys weigh in, and we'll just go boom, boom on these 10.
Let's get it.
Obviously, at number 1, you have Caleb Williams to the
Obviously.
Chicago Bears. I'm saying,
Obviously.
on the grand scheme,
I know.
on the grand scheme of what most people think.
You know
However,
why I say that.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see what they do as far as holding that number 1 pick and trying to auction it off, because I think it's very obvious, even if it's not Caleb Williams, this is going to be quarterback or trade out for Chicago. And people could think I'm crazy for saying trade out. This is going to be the most valuable, one of the more valuable number 1 picks that has ever been held in NFL draft history. No matter what you think about Caleb Williams or Drake May, that's just a fact. And lots of teams are going to bid for this pick. So the Bears are going to have a decision to make. Do you keep Fields and do you gather what would be that huge contingency of draft picks? Or do you just send him somewhere else and still get some more picks and end up going number 1? It's going to be fascinating. I personally think they'll hold serve.
I have my opinion.
Caleb Williams at 1. Go ahead.
You already know you think I'm crazy, but I think at 1, with you also having a pick at 4, I don't think you trade back. I don't think it's worth acquiring the draft capital. You're the Bears. You have Fields, who's shown some promise and has a lot of potential still as a young quarterback. I think you sit at 1 and take Marvin Harrison. I think you take him at 1 and you take offensive tackle at 4, and you go hit free agency with every bit of money you have and build around Fields. I still am a Justin Fields believer. I think he can play. I think he's just finally getting to establish some confidence in the league this year, late in the season. If you roll out next year with, also, I wouldn't take Olu Fashanu. I would take Joe Alt. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. Yeah.
I would take Joe
Yeah.
Alt. But if you walk out of this draft with Marvin Harrison and Joe Alt, and then whatever you decide to do in free agency, I think you've set Fields up for success. I think if you take Caleb Williams, you're kicking the can down the road and taking a chance on another, not saying similar talent, but similar style of quarterback that likes to scramble around and make plays and hold the ball for a long time behind what is still a bad offensive line. And you're starting with rookie bad habits all over again. Whereas Fields is kind of starting to look like he's breaking out of some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Do you want to take another crack at a, quarterback this high in the draft? Like
they
you did
100% are
with
drafting Caleb. They're drafting Caleb. I know
They're
they
going
are.
to draft Caleb.
Dude, it's going to be a new head
are.
coach. It's going to be a new GM. They're drafting Caleb.
Yeah.
New head coach, new GM isn't taking over the old quarterback. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but that's what's going to happen. That's why the Bears continue to stay a poverty franchise too.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like if that's the route they're going to go, that would probably be the best route because they'll get draft capital for Justin Fields. I think someone like the Falcons would I feel like the Falcons would easily throw a first at him. I
no,
really
hell no, hell no.
But him on the Falcons is fascinating.
If they make the playoffs,
I love it, but they're not throwing I wouldn't throw a first for him if I'm the Falcons.
If they make the playoffs, they're going to get around a top 24, 25 pick. You throw that.
Nah,
they'll
be in the late teens if they make the playoffs. They're not winning the game in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, they'll be at what? Like
they're not winning the game
something
in the
like
playoffs. They'll be at 18.
They'll
be the worst record in the playoffs.
But I think you can justify that. I think if you're the Falcons, you've been looking for your quarterback, you could do it.
Oh, as the Falcons, you can justify it. I don't think it's the right move to give up a first for him.
Oh, no.
I think it's too much.
I don't think so either. Yeah, but
as much as I like Fields. But I mean, I guess you did just see Trey Lance, who's done nothing, go for a fourth. But that's because Jerry is a fucking narcissist that overpaid.
Jerry, give me a break.
Jerry.
All right, number 2.
Yeah. Speaking of the incumbent player that you're talking about, Maserati Marv.
He's so good.
Maserati Marv. He's the best wide receiver I've seen in college football in a very long time. I mean, Devontae Smith will have an argument for it just because if you look at the numbers, and yes, like we talk about box score truthers all the time, like, dude, the numbers are eye-popping for Devontae Smith.
But cut on the tape, he ain't Marv.
I mean, what's his weakness?
He ain't Marv.
What's his weakness? Athleticism is a 10. Yak ability is a 10. Balance and sideline awareness is a 10. Route running is a 10. He's
Marvin Harrison Jr.'s son with size, bro.
I know.
He does everything the Hall of Famer did, except he's 6'3", 220.
Dude, Ohio State could be 10-2, or maybe I wouldn't say 9-3, just because they didn't really play anybody outside of Michigan, Penn State, and Notre Dame. They could be 10-2 or 9-3 without Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah. Let's be very real about that.
He's accountable for 3 wins. He's a 3-win player if we're talking baseball terms.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I feel like he's the best receiver prospect since Calvin Johnson.
I
think he is.
I think he's a better prospect.
I love it. No,
Calvin Johnson was. I mean, Calvin Johnson.
We didn't know for sure the way we do with Marv, in my opinion.
Plus, Calvin Johnson also played guys like at Calvin Johnson played in a triple option. Georgia Tech used to run the triple option.
Yeah, and he was dominating, dude. Like he was.
He was, but he wasn't this. Not in college. Yeah, he didn't have the opportunity.
No.
So
this is the best prospect we've seen at the receiver position.
Yeah,
So we don't think the Cardinals move off of Murray.
No,
We
they
don't
shouldn't. I mean, they might, but
Stupid.
I mean, what? You're going to feel better about moving off, especially if you're not picking at one. You really
It's the
think they're
same
going to feel
logic I
better
just
about
gave.
Drake
It's the
May?
same logic I just gave for the Bears.
Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah.
well, more so, you've got a proven guy that's on his second contract.
Mhm.
You just
Yeah.
gave him that contract. You're not moving
And-
off of him for a rookie.
And who's trading for that contract?
The Falcons.
Nobody. I mean, maybe the
The
Falcons.
Falcons
Hey,
would.
Dog, if
again,
I'm
though.
dude, I told you this months ago.
Yeah, you did. You
Yeah.
did.
I called that one months ago when I thought they were
And I
going to
mean,
get the number one pick before the season.
Mhm.
But
I mean, here's the
Yeah.
thing. What if the Bears do exactly what Josh said? Keep Fields, get
And Caleb's
Marvin
there?
Harrison, and Caleb's there at 2.
then you panic. Then they probably panic.
You
I can
panic.
see them hitting the panic
Oof.
button.
Yeah, they would panic.
They would,
They would
dude.
hit the panic
I
button.
mean, what the fuck do you do? Like, you could easily
Nah,
trade out of that
but
second
dude,
But a
that
spot.
wide
scenario's
receiver
not
going
happening.
number one. A
It's not
wide
gonna
receiver
happen.
going number one. The
They'd
last
trade
wide
out.
receiver to go number one was Keyshawn, and I believe that was 1996.
Yeah. If they're
Yeah.
not taking Caleb, they're trading out.
Yeah,
Also,
agreed.
But I
something
don't think
kind
the
of
draft capital is worth moving away from Marvin Harrison. That's
Agreed.
just
Yeah.
how high I am
Also,
on him. You don't move out of him. You either take Caleb, you take Marvin, or you don't trade out. Like,
Agreed.
Yeah.
you've got to take one of those two. You don't trade
Mhm.
out of here.
Also,
I
something to
would
say
be
with
all
the
on board to
Cardinals.
trade out if there's no Marvin Harrison Jr. But that is
Agreed.
the
Yeah.
difference.
Also, with the Cardinals, this would be like the second time they've probably taken a generational receiver. Because I mean, they got Larry back in the day at a very high draft pick. So
Yeah.
kind of cool to see that they might
that
be in
makes
position to get
Marquise
a
Brown
guy.
a marquee number 2
Yeah.
in the league.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's keep it moving. Drake May, number 3 to the Patriots. I mean, it would be a very stereotypical Patriots draft pick. I like
coaching
Drake
him?
May. Yeah, that's a good question, and that's going to be the key. I like Drake May. I really think that there was a big opportunity for him to kind of gain on Caleb Williams as far as the number 1 pick goes this year. I'm not sure that I can comfortably say that he did
He's
that.
still my QB too. Yeah.
I agree with you.
But he's not the
6'4",
Caleb.
230 pounds, 4'6", 40. I'd be a little concerned about, the dip a little bit in production from his redshirt freshman year to his redshirt sophomore year. But all the tools are there, and you get the guys with the right hands, or you get guys that get their hands on him with the right mindset. He'll be able to. I think he can succeed in this league. But we see it every year, guys. Like, if 4 or 5 quarterbacks are taken in the first round, historically, only one or two of them are going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Drake May is the 1 or 2. Like, I don't see any way this guy's bad.
Yeah, probably.
I think he's cut from, when it comes from size and skill standpoint, the Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence mold, because he's got that size and athleticism and arm talent. Like, I think his floor is like just an average quarterback, average starter. But I think
almost
his ceiling is as
5,000
high
yards as a
Yeah,
redshirt freshman.
The guy can
purpose.
spin it. He can spin it.
Yeah.
Like, he was my quarterback 1 going into the season. He bumped down to QB 2. It's fine. Like, he had a bad year. I'm not moving him off my draft board by any means. He's definitely not moving out of the top 5. You take him if you're New England, obviously. Like, he's an upgrade from anything you have. So
yeah, agreed.
It's just a matter of who's there to coach him and develop him. Honestly, I have no worry about him as a prospect. It's who's there to mold him and grow him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Hopefully, Bill is out of the building. And that's crazy to say because Bill Belichick is one of the greatest head coaches of all time, but he's got to get out of New England. It's been a fucking mess over there with him this season. So, but yeah, Drake May, talented quarterback. I love a lot of things that he brings to the table. I will say, while I love Drake May, and I do agree that mock wise, he probably would be in my mocks the second, quarterback off the board and probably the second best quarterback. There's another quarterback in this little mock draft that I love that I absolutely love, and
My
I hate where he's getting mocked because
my
fuck,
QB
that
one
would suck.
isn't on this list.
Is it
Yep.
Penix?
Yeah, it's Penix.
His stock has fallen
Yeah.
a little bit.
I don't care.
And I don't get it.
Penix is my guy.
It's not. I don't think
Penix
he's been
is my
playing
guy.
bad these past few weeks. So like, I don't understand why his stock is
We'll get into
continuously
that at a
falling.
later date, but he's my
Yeah.
QB1.
Yeah.
There will be a time and a place to talk about Michael
And that may
Penix
change
Jr.
between now and then, but right now, love it.
Yeah.
Good old Mikey Peen. Okay,
Oh
so we
my.
can group 4 and 5 together here because this is going to be the great debate going into the draft, and we're going to hear it for the next 4 months. Who is the number one offensive tackle on the board?
Joe Alt.
Is it Olu Fashanu or is it Joe Alt? I didn't really do extensive like tape watching on both of these two today. I've seen both of them play a lot. There's clear cases to be made for both of them. GMs are going to lose sleep over them. You have the Bears mocking here to take Fashanu at 4 and the Commanders taking Joe Alt at 5. Basically, the difference between these two guys is Fashanu is a little bit more of a speed and agility player, whereas Joe Alt has elite size. Alt is about 3 inches taller. He's about 6'8". And we know Notre Dame offensive linemen, blue chip Notre Dame offensive linemen normally succeed in the NFL. The Quentin Nelsons of the world, the Ronnie Stanleys of the world, the Mike McGlincheys of the world. I mean, Notre Dame offensive linemen normally don't miss. So you could really plug or play either of these guys in there. It's going to be fascinating to see which one ends up being the first one taken. And it's just going to be a matter of personal preference. I want to throw this stat out there for you guys. In the last 2 seasons, Olu Fashanu has been blocking on 605 pass block snaps. 605. How many sacks do you think he's allowed?
0.
Let's say
Donut. 0.
Oh my God.
You said
That's
over the last
fucking-
4 seasons?
2.
2 seasons, okay.
That doesn't even feel
2
like a real
seasons,
stat.
0
2
sacks.
seasons.
No.
Imagine doing your job
You thought it was
605
gonna be like 10.
times in a row and you don't fuck up once. You don't
Yeah,
fuck up
dude.
a single time.
I get it.
If
and
you
I
would have
was-
said 10,
I will say,
if you would have said like
that's
10
impressive.
sacks, I would have been impressed.
It's impressive.
Crazy.
But I will say this. I want to go back and watch more of his tape and see how much of that is. So he's a left tackle.
Right.
Penn State is a predominantly run-heavy team. How much of that is play action? How much of that is rollouts to the right where he is not main in protection? He's a very big athletic guy in a run-heavy offense. Sounds very familiar to Ike Ekwonu, who now that he's being pressed into a pass protection role is struggling.
Right.
Which I mean,
we
that
know
fits
he
for the
can
Bears
pass protect
offense
for sure.
Yeah, he's 6'8". He was born to pass protect.
Yeah, dude, he's a pass protector. And what is this league predicated on? What wins? Throwing
Pass
the ball.
protection. And
Pass
throwing.
protection and throwing the ball. I think it's Joe Alt without, and I want to do a bigger deep dive into these two, but right now with what I've seen and what I know from years past, it's Joe Alt. Fashanu's good. He feels more of the upside athletic prowess guy.
Sure.
Alt feels like the can't miss.
Yeah.
And if you're the
that's
Bears,
what Notre
you want
Dame
the can't
offensive
miss.
linemen are.
If you're the Bears, you want the can't miss left tackle, especially if you're taking a rookie quarterback at 1.
Right. It'll be fascinating to see what happens there over the next 4 months. We keep moving. Giants fans are going to be pissed if they don't take a quarterback. However,
shouldn't do it.
You guys are going to hear me talk a lot about this guy in the next few months. He's already one of my favorite prospects, and get ready to pronounce his name. It's actually easier than it looks. Leatu Latu. Leatu Latu.
Okay.
Leatu Latu.
This dude is a fucking game wrecker. I mean, he's everywhere. He is in the backfield. He is dropping in coverage. He is the captain of the UCLA defense. That was one of the better defenses in the Pac-12. I think he's definitely the number one, kind of edge rushing outside linebacker hybrid that you'd see coming off of the board. I think Dallas Turner out of Bama will give him a little bit of a run for his money, but I every time I watch Latu play, he is, if there was to quote Chris Sims, a fuck up the play stat, he would be number 1 in college football. This dude fucks up the play so often.
Sounds awesome.
He feels like
opposite Kayvon Thibodeau.
That's exactly what I was about
absolutely,
to say. That would be a
Thibodeau's been
nightmare.
awesome down the stretch.
Yeah.
absolutely. And I know Giants fans are going to want a quarterback, but I mean, man,
Yeah.
this
Build the
guy's
rest
a
of the
good
team
football
up
player.
first, dude. And hell,
Yeah.
hey, Danny DeVito's not playing bad football.
Okay, you can miss me with that, but I like him as much as you do.
You
But
know I love
mean,
me some Danny DeVito.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, hell,
He will
is
never
it
beat
a
Tommy.
reach? Is it a reach that the Giants might go after an offensive tackle? I mean, I think that's something
You
else
don't
that they
want to
have to
trade
address
up.
because
You don't want to
that's the
trade up
thing.
for one.
You don't want to, but also it is a
If it
big
falls to
concern
you,
for
you
their
take
team.
it. If
Yeah.
one of those two guys falls to you, you take them. If not, you take best player available.
Agreed. And Latu probably would be at that point. All right, let's get weird. We don't have much time, but let's get weird for a second. Jaden Daniels mocked at 7 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This would be a major wild card. Dude, can you guys believe Jaden Daniels played Justin Herbert in college when Daniels was a true freshman and beat him and knocked Oregon out of the college football playoff? Dude, mock draft database had Jaden Daniels undrafted for most
I
of the
remember
season.
watching his Elite 11 when I was in middle school.
Yeah, guy can spin it. His speed is incredible. Will he go this high? Will he go this high? I have no idea, but I can't wait to find out.
He's not going this high. I think so many GMs will see this as a 1-year wonder type deal. Whereas, like, the majority of his career, yes, he's been good. He hasn't been this damn good. I mean, yes, it's impressive. I don't see him as a top 10 guy. For me personally, he's a round 2 guy. And maybe a back end round 1 guy. Like, if you're putting him in last year's class, I would have had Levis ahead of him, personally.
Yeah.
But I was also higher on Levis, I think, than most.
Yeah.
But Daniels, I like him. I think he's a very intriguing prospect. But you also have to start to wonder how much of the production is based off of his many years of experience and still playing against 18, 19-year-olds. But
well, I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people say that Daniels is super old. He's only 22, 23. He's not that old. Like, I think that's something a lot of people have been trying to say that I love Daniels. I think he has a lot of upside in his game. There are definitely a lot of things that you would probably worry about as a prospect, but just watching him play, dude, and he's played against some of the best defenses in the nation. You know, the SEC ain't no fucking joke. And he's out there, putting up the stats that, I feel like for a lot of people would easily win him the Heisman. And, there's still a lot of conversation about
it's going to be Bo Nix.
To win. I think so too, but like
Bo Nix is winning the
Daniels,
Heisman.
I when I look at Daniels, I just see a lot of promising things and a lot of upside that I would not want to see the Bucks get. For one, I don't know where the Bucks are going to be as a team towards the end of the season. They're pretty old offensively. They have a pretty old roster. So, he might go into a situation where Mike Evans might not be there. Chris Godwin might not be there. I don't want a situation to see where he gets thrown into the fire and just, completely fizzles out because
quarterback if you're Tampa either. I think you kick the can down the road with Baker another year and take best player available, which is probably Brock Bowers.
I think in this situation, this is like the best. I feel like this quarterback draft is like super deep. So I don't think they have to take a quarterback in the first round. I think they could wait till the second.
High.
Yeah,
I ultimately don't think he'll go this high either.
No, I love Daniels, but I don't see him going top 10.
I think you take Bowers here.
Okay, so we're getting ready to get out of here, and I don't think the Titans and the Chargers are going to be picking it not at 9 and 10 respectfully, regardless. So let's end talking about Brock Bowers. Let's end it talking about Brock Bowers, who's projected to go 8th to the Jets. what a treat that would be for Aaron Rodgers on his return, because you do have those weapons on the outside, and you get Brock Bowers, who
Would it really
I've
though?
talked a little bit about.
Would it really though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You've talked a
Yeah.
little bit. I've talked a little bit about Bowers with Josh and how much I love him. Do I think that he's the most productive tight end in college football I've ever seen? Probably not. Kyle Pitts was uber productive. TJ Hawkinson was insanely productive. Kobe Fleener, I don't know if you guys remember him. He was insanely productive. He was insanely productive. But Brock Bowers reminds me more of Travis Kelce than any tight end I've ever seen in college football. I mean, his size and his slipperiness, his elusiveness, he's very slippery. Let's be very real. He looks like he's in an oil spill sex scene. He is. He can.
I don't need that image in my head.
He can get through a defense very easily. Incredible yak ability. Like I said, he's not the most productive tight end I've ever seen in college, but I've never seen a guy in college where I've been like, that's Travis Kelce until Brock Bowers. Because, I mean, dude, like, he'll turn up field, and he's always open, especially when teams play zone. When teams play zone, he eats zone coverage up.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroys it.
Yep.
My thing about this is I love Bowers. I think, if he would have came out, what was he like? Was he a junior last year? No, he was he? No, what is he this year? Do what?
I will say this. I don't know if Bowers goes this high, not because of Bowers as a talent,
just
but because of the recent track record with tight ends going high.
Yeah.
I think you're more likely, especially if the Jets are picking right here, to see Malik Neighbors.
He's a junior.
I think you're more likely to see Malik Neighbors go here than you are like Brock Bowers.
He has 26 touchdowns in 3 years.
My only thing is if we're going to talk about him pairing up with Aaron Rodgers has a history of not really throwing to his tight ends. Like, not at all.
He loves his tight ends, bro.
No.
What do you mean? He loves his
not as much as other quarterbacks do. I'll give Brad that.
Like
he wasn't throwing to him like Kelce.
He made him a lot of money.
Yeah, he did.
That's
for a guy that's
the
not
only
that
thing that worries.
He also loved him some old ass Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah, but not as much as, like, I don't know. I think I do love Bowers, and I think that he's going to be a stud. But like I said, just with Rodgers, I mean, what is Rodgers going to be like when he comes back? I think that's a big question. I mean, he's talking about coming back.
For another time that I can't wait to have. I think he's cooked.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it from a fit because, like I said, historically, Rodgers really hasn't been a tight end like friendly quarterback. So I don't know, but I do love Bowers. I think he's going to be a stud. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he goes top 10. I just, like you guys said, with the recent trajectory with tight ends going a little bit higher than they should and kind of not really panning out the way that they I feel like a lot of teams wanted them to. Except for Kincaid. I thought Kincaid's been, pretty well. I think he's been playing pretty solid.
Been good. He's been very good.
But Kyle Pitts, he's just been kind of nowhere to really be seen in that offense. So I don't know.
And that's a wrap. We're going to talk a lot more draft going forward. Thursday is a big night for us on this podcast because we have a tie in our Pick 5 standings. Josh and I tied at 30 points apiece, and these last 6 weeks are going to be fun and a race to the finish. Some good games that we'll preview this weekend, including my 49ers against the Eagles, which I am super excited about. But until then, we will leave you with this. For my compatriots, Brad and Josh, my name is Davidson, and we will see you on Thursday.
Peace.